Last orders at the bar!
A night in with Mauler and the drinker, getting traction with the web screen dinkers. A cheap night cause I'm feeling kinda thrifty, got a 10-pack of beers and a bottle of whiskey. Pop up the cork, have a glass of wine, I feel safe, I'll be fine. Trouble walking in a straight line, but pour me a Pinot Noir. It's open bar with our hosts, Mauler and the critical drinker.
Hello. It's us, and we're back for Last Orders.
We are
Welcome.
indeed.
Yeah, we all had a great time talking the other night on Open Bar, and we actually got through a whole bunch of the super chats, way more than we normally do. I think because, really, aside from Daredevil, it was a relatively slow news week for things to talk about, so we had more time to devote to super chats, which was nice. It's always good to be able to answer them on the night. But yeah, there's a few left over, so it's nice for us to be able to catch up with them here. So, Mauler, if you're ready, I think I'm ready. Should we see
I'm
the
indeed
answer?
ready, sir.
All righty. The first question here is from Big Larry Hoover, who says, "Greetings, gents. I've never seen Blade Runner. Which cut should I watch?" He's got three questions here, actually. This is the
final
first.
cut, right?
Okay, so I don't know what their official designations are. I just know the cut I prefer is the one that ends with Deckard just leaving his apartment, seeing the origami, and that's it. And it's the one that doesn't have narration on it.
Mm-hmm.
That is a cut which exists, isn't it? Like, 'cause I hate the
According
one
to most fans and critics, the final cut is considered the best version of Blade Runner, as it mostly closely represents Ridley Scott's intended vision for the film, included added scenes and tweaks that refine the narrative compared to earlier cuts. That's what I always thought was the final cut was considered the best one.
That is fine. That's probably the one I would recommend in that case then. And yes, go watch it. You're in for an absolute treat. It's a fantastic movie, and I love it.
Yes.
Also says, opinions on Alien Isolation. That's probably a better question for you, actually, than me.
Opinions on it. I only played it the one time and I didn't get that far in it, but it's probably one of the best Alien games and considered one of the best stealth games, so stealth horror. So if you like Alien and that sounds tempting, go ahead and give it a look-see, I'd say.
I do like the premise behind it. I like the idea of, like, you don't have weapons, do you? You just kind of have to run and hide, and you've got to complete various...
You can have tools like flamethrowers and stuff, but yeah, it's not viable to kill the alien, I don't think.
Yeah. And the final question was, Drinker, why are your takes on dinosaurs so bad? They're not. They're fucking cast iron, my friend. I stand by my premise that people would eventually get bored of dinosaurs. There, I've said it.
He said it.
Harry Langdon says, Platoon, when is Judas out? The site still says March. I don't know, actually. I wish Platoon was here to answer that one. Judas is a game?
Yes. It's the newest Ken Levine game, as far as I'm aware. Spiritual successor, in a sense, to BioShock.
Very interesting in that case. Yeah, we'll hope to see it soon. Agamemnon Fireman says, if you guys continue to talk about Daredevil, I hope you guys bring Razor back into Open Bar, since he's a super fan of both the original Netflix series and the comic runs. I liked the first 2 episodes. Cheers. I didn't know that, actually, that Razor Fist was a big fan. So,
as far as I'm aware, he was fond of Born Again, actually. Or at least partially.
Yeah, I haven't seen his review yet. But I'd be interested to hear it. So, yeah, I'd happily have him back on Open Bar to talk about it if he's willing to do it. Superfly says, can you get Blaine from Criticless Cast on? I don't know, can we? I've never heard of him. What is that?
Maybe.
Yeah, sure. The Mighty Hump says, Harrison Ford voice, I don't care. Okay. Rolando Ramirez, well, some people really can't handle an opinion from one long man. Yeah, there was quite a lot of dissent in chat there. It was pretty split. It really was.
Yeah.
I'd probably say it's about 60-40 in favor of the show, if I had to make a rough guess on the night, but there were people who didn't like it, for sure. So you're not alone, Mauler. You're not a lone voice of reason in an insane world.
No, I have seen a bit of decent, like a decent chunk of people who are angry at Born Again, and I was like, I'm not alone. Yay.
The Wednesday the next episode comes out.
Tuesday, as far as I know, Tuesday like night. So Wednesday
Right.
for us, maybe.
Yeah. And they're just releasing it as one per week. It's not coming out in chunks or anything.
It's a weird release schedule. Have you not seen it?
Nope, didn't know, didn't care.
It's not quite conventional. We have episodes 1 and 2 on March 4th, episode 3 and 11th, 4th on 18th, 5 and 6 on the 25th, and then 7 on the 1st, 8 on the 8th, and 9 on the 15th. So 2 double releases and the rest a single. I'm assuming 5 and 6 something happens that makes them like connected or whatever.
It must be some kind of story reason, but yeah, I would definitely describe that as unconventional.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Next one is Shadow of the Day. Says Vincent said to view it as season 4. Name only changed so they didn't have to pay people more. Foggy backstory not needed for premiere. All in seasons 1 to 3. So yeah, I mean, you could see it like that, I guess. It does acknowledge the events of like all these other crappy shows, unfortunately. Whether it's just paying lip service to that, I'm not sure. I mean, how do you view it?
Well, like season 4. That's why I kind of hate it so much. If it were disconnected completely, I'd probably think better of it. But it's so disrespectful to the original 3 seasons, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know why everyone's letting it get away with this, so to speak. Like, imagine just we didn't get a Star Wars episode 7 forever, and then they finally do it, and the first 5 minutes is I don't know, Leia getting killed. Just be like, okay, cool. And then it's just like, yeah, well, we've had all of the build up for her in the other films, so you still, it feels there's still an impact to it.
Could it potentially redeem itself in your eyes?
There is no, like, turns out Foggy is alive as a big twist by the end of the season that makes that better. I've tried to explain this to people, and I feel like I'm going to have to repeat myself a few times, which is okay. But the meaning of his death is skipped over. We don't get to see Matt and Karen mourn him across a year. We don't get to see him give up the Daredevil role as a result of him stepping over the line, quote unquote. We don't get to see the effect it has on Foggy's family or his girlfriend that I guess got completely forgotten and has now been removed. And we didn't get to see, Matt's existential crisis, essentially, and how Karen left. Like, she chose to leave Matt. Like, not in the sense of a boyfriend-girlfriend, but more in a friend who was desperately in need. She knew he was Daredevil. She watched him stop doing that and fall apart and just left for San Francisco. We skipped all of that. And if someone said something like, oh, season 2 will actually do all of that, I'd just be like, what the fuck are they doing?
Yeah. Okay. I think that's fair. I think that's fair criticism. Gleeman says, Longman's right. The MCU forgets their continuity all the time. They're advertising Monica Rambeau as filling Vision's role in Avengers. Still no mention of White Vision from WandaVision. That is true. Where did he go off to? Just flew away.
We'll find out at some point, maybe.
Sure, just like the Celestial. The Lovable Munchkin says, this was a tough watch for people who just watched all 3 seasons of Daredevil before this. Where is Matt's mom and Marcy?
Yeah, Maggie's just gone. It's crazy. It seems people say that doesn't matter, which is fucking nuts. Like, she is super important in season 3, and they're finally like able to sort of reconcile by the end of it, but now she just doesn't even get a fucking mention.
Do you think there's a potential as well that, like, because it's been several years since the last Daredevil season, that people have just straight up forgotten a lot of the things that happened in it? Like, they remember the salient points, but like certain characters or events, they've just kind of gotten easy with. And
I'm not picking on him for this whatsoever, but the fact that Movie Cynic said that Daredevil and Bullseye teamed up to take on Kingpin, I was like, oh dear. I think he was saying it was the AI summary that maybe got some shit wrong or whatever, but it's like, I think a lot of people may have forgotten what happened.
Let that be a lesson to you kids. Don't use AI summaries of movies or TV shows. They will lead you astray. Next up is Margie M, who gave us a popcorn super sticker, so thank you. Snex says, Born Again is giving off too much Force Awakens vibes, luring the audience with legacy characters only to rip them away in favor of the new crew. That does sound pretty familiar.
Foggy was killed we skipped forward a year, and within 20 minutes, Daredevil has lost his famous comic partner and instead got a black woman that he has to tell is amazing. I'm shocked this hasn't pissed people off more, honestly.
Hey, I mentioned it. Like, I mentioned that, like, yep, you remove Foggy and slotted someone more diverse into his place. Like, I know exactly what you're doing there, but everyone else just seemed to glass over it. It's weird. JSS Brooklyn says, Drinker, just stopping by for a glass. Enjoy. Thank you. Cash Akus says, hi panel, not sure if you've heard, but the app Cinebox on Roku has the original 1977 theatrical cut of Star Wars. I watched it on Saturday and it was beautiful. Is that true? That's pretty cool in that case.
Yeah.
The Lovable Munchkin says, I don't believe that Matt would let Fisk run for mayor. He wouldn't trust him at all. Yeah, I mean, knowing everything he knows about him, I don't know why we'd ever let him get to that
the fucking
point.
world wouldn't, dude. It's the most unbelievable shit. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking writing that as the story. It makes no fucking sense.
Yeah. Garfield's Bizarre Adventure says, so, is Daredevil still dating She-Hulk, or is Disney pretending that it never happened? The latter. I think they've straight up said the show is not going to acknowledge that in the slightest.
Yet they acknowledged Echo, which I find so odd.
I know, but she's at least somewhat grounded in reality. Like, could you imagine if fucking She-Hulk just showed up in this show, like with this, like, tone and this level of realism that it supposedly has? Like,
yeah,
out of place and weird it would look. Snex says, open bar, spoiler alert, Epic Mike, hold my beer. Okay. Zace says, the CGI in Daredevil Born Again is bad because they needed to claw back the wasted money from shooting and then scrapping half the season. I don't think they really have scrapped that much. I think they've just reordered it and like put some new stuff in to flesh it out. That's my understanding. They've kept most of what was shot. They've just put in a bunch of other stuff to recontextualize it. Am I crazy there? Is that not what's happened?
I'm not 100% clear on exactly what's happened. It's what's happened with the ugly ass action sequences where he's rubber matte is, to me that's just Marvel's phase 4 and 5. That's what they do with fucking everything. So it doesn't surprise me in any way, shape, or form. I think as has said before, and it's agreed. It's like the best part for the way, like convincing you it's actual people is just in that staircase, because for the most part it is real people, and then they CG the blades and stuff, which is totally fine. Everyone's expecting that. But the smoky bits when they're on top of the rooftop, there's so much rubber, and it's just like, oh my god, how the fuck did this happen?
There's too many rubber people involved here. Samael says, Drinker and panel, have any of you seen the hidden gem movie Stakeland? Excellent characters, realistic action set in a grounded, gritty world, and a genuinely menacing villain. Add in feral vampires, and what more can you ask for? Anyways, thanks for the mountain of interesting content that helps the work hours go down smooth. Cheers. Thank you, sir. I'm afraid I haven't seen that. I haven't heard of it. Glad you enjoyed it, though. Margie M's asking, how do they handle his Catholicism? Properly? Well, it's a bit too early to tell, but so far we've had not much. He looks at a church. That's nice.
Yay, he looks at church.
Yeah, it's like, you can almost imagine the Disney writers just being like, hey, see, we're acknowledging it. We're acknowledging that he's Catholic. What more do you want? It's like, no, I want him in doing confessional. I want him like, doing the cross thing.
Probably talking to fucking Maggie, who is I'm mad. I'm upset. They're ruining it. They're ruining it, Drinker. What do we do?
We complain, like we piss and moan about it and then turn everyone against it. Granite Man says, I want to see Jessica Jones and Luke Cage return.
They're coming in season 2.
I could live without them, if I'm honest.
They've already been confirmed they'll be in season 2.
Why season 2 though? Why don't you just give them their own shows? Like
I guess because they're not sure that that's worthwhile compared to Daredevil.
That's fair. It's probably not worthwhile. Without the Purple Man, I feel like Jessica Jones is just kind of lost, and she's really not that likable of a character to make me want to watch her. And Luke Cage was just a bit of a bland nothing burger. Like, I was just never really, that invested in one way or the other. I was just kind of apathetic towards Luke Cage, which is a shame.
Yeah, I mean, you're not alone. Those shows did not do anywhere near as good as Daredevil.
Ron S says, when Matt was outside the church, I thought he was going to visit his mum, but then I realized they probably don't remember that she exists. Yeah, as Muller was saying. Neither do a lot of the audience, it seems. Muggy says, I wish you could just pull up the showrunner's quote. The sheer hubris in thinking they could do better than the OG with a shaky first episode. Yeah, is this, they were talking about the original being like a navel-gazing kind of show, and that this one was going to be so much better.
I mean, it's almost like, in retrospect now, I don't even care. I'm just like sad that the dialogue itself is just shit anyway. Like I guess the point I'm making is that it wouldn't matter if they'd spent their time having heroes talk about why they do any given thing, or having political discussions, or talking about law, blah 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 blah. It's just like, I don't really care what they're talking about if it's all going to be crap, and it's, as far as I'm concerned, not great right now, the dialogue quality anyway.
Joey Bag of Donuts says, Muller, thank you for keeping me sane.
No problem.
Ace from Space, evening drinker, Muller and panel. Firstly, just getting into Platoon's 2 to 5 hour long videos, loving them. Secondly, did the second trailer of Andor change any of your expectations for season 2?
I mean, not really. It's a trailer, so like the music was a weird choice, and as far as I'm concerned, that was just a weird choice for whoever decided the trailer should have that music. I saw someone re-edit it with the music you'd expect, and it was much better.
Do you think they're just trying to make it seem like more cool and faster paced? And
yes,
I don't know. They're just trying to shake the image that it's a bit of a slow, stodgy political drama that the first season had.
I think so. I think they're trying to be like, hey, people who didn't like it, give us a chance this time, please.
Yeah. We can do it. T1S says, watching Little Platoon play Gollum is the only thing that brings me joy in life. Drinker playthrough when? God, I made the mistake of asking that last night when I was streaming Tomb Raider 2 remake or remaster. And I was like, gosh, there's really, modern games aren't inspiring me that much. Like, is there anything that you guys would like to see me stream and like to see me play? And yeah, a couple of the suggestions were Lord of Ring Gollum. So maybe one day. The Machete Order says, George Lucas backed Iger in his proxy war. Why? I have a gut feeling that Lucas will be announced as Lucasfilm president at Celebration, making it easier to cut a deal with Gina to avoid discovery. I admire your optimism, sir, but no fucking way is any of that going to happen. Like,
I don't think so, no.
George Lucas is not coming back. He's not going to be president of Lucasfilm again. He's not buying it back from Disney or anything like that. He is like 90 years old or whatever. He's an old man now and tired, and he just wants to be left alone. He ain't going to be running Lucasfilm. As for the lawsuit with Gina, I think they'll settle out of court. They'll offer her a ludicrous sum of money, and she will probably accept it at a certain point so that they don't go to discovery.
Mm-hmm.
That's my feeling. And as for Lucas backing Iger in the proxy war, I don't know. Maybe like Iger called in a personal favor with him. Maybe it's just like Lucas has got stock in the company that was part of his buyout, and he feels like the stock will be harmed in terms of share price if someone else took over. So maybe that's it. I don't know. Mega Spidey Man says, of the two, which do you most wish was high quality and why? The Hobbit trilogy or the Rings of Power? This is actually a pretty good question. Do you want to go first or shall I?
I guess I'm still sort of like thinking which is better to be better ultimately.
Because there's two dimensions to this, isn't there? There's viewing it from a creative perspective and viewing it from like a sort of larger, almost corporate perspective. What does each of these things represent? Because one is very much a filmmaker trying to bring to life the works of Tolkien, even though it was stretched way too thin and it had various problems along the way, versus a company that bought some of the rights so that they could muscle into this franchise and try to be the next Game of Thrones, ultimately. And it's like, who would I say is more deserving of really a good quality adaptation that everyone loves?
Yeah.
And if that's the question, then yeah, I'd say the Hobbit trilogy. It would have been, I don't know, it would have been pretty gratifying to give Peter Jackson his second trilogy of awesome movies that he could feel really proud of, instead of what I imagine it is that he's kind of going to be eternally pissed off that it didn't work out all that well, and it's a little bit of a stain on that franchise.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't know if you have a different perspective on it or what.
Again, I think if so, like the question would be that they end up being like the best version of what they could have been, right?
Yeah.
I'd probably pick The Hobbit because it's got a lot of creatives and actors and stuff that seeing them all be able to deliver something as good as Lord of the Rings would be awesome. While Rings of Power, it's whatever, man. Like they can reap what they sow, sort of thing. Like they're the ones that made that. It's horrific. They had no intentions of making something that we were all going to enjoy anyway, so why bail them out? And in a sense, it's like at least with The Hobbit, I think a lot of good could have come from it. Yeah, like you said, being much better.
Nathan Cassidy, I just want to point out that we had a similar situation with Andor. Slow start that turned off a huge chunk of the audience for a good show. History doesn't repeat itself, but often rhymes. Okay.
Daredevil's not a slow start. That's not what I have an issue with. Of what's happened, it sucks. Andor, I'd happily concede that a lot of people felt it was a very slow start. That's fine. But it's all foundational. You get introduced to all the characters, and then they're going to go on and do a whole bunch of things that'll be interesting in the rest of the season. Meanwhile, Daredevil, I've been told I only have to tolerate a selection of the new characters for another 3 episodes or so, and then they'll be gone, which is not good, it's really weird if we actually end up agreeing that like episode 3, 4 sucks, but you know what? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 are good. It's like, okay.
Yeah, how do we assess it then?
Yeah, that's weird, but okay.
Jose Taco says, Razor and Nerdrotic, the biggest Daredevil fans, like it so far.
You could say they're the biggest Daredevil comics fans out of the sphere, but I'm a pretty big fan of the show from Netflix, and I think that should probably matter significantly as to the assessment of how good it does continuity-wise. I know some people have said like the new girlfriend he has, she's from the comics, and it's like, okay, that doesn't really help compared to like how you do TV show storytelling where she just has 2 scenes and they're already together, and she's like, they have like no chemistry as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, it ties into this whole thing of people referencing the comics and saying, well, Foggy has a history of like faking his own death in the comics, so he might not be dead here, and so that makes a different, that explains what happened in this first episode. And it's like, well, not really, because it still makes it a cheap death, even if it's faked ultimately, because I think reasons that you already highlight, we don't get to see the reaction of the characters to it. We don't see how their lives are affected in the immediate aftermath. We just skip through a year, and that's not a great way of handling a death, even if it ultimately gets undone. So I can get behind that. And I think from that perspective, then it's not really fair to then say, well, these guys really know about the comics, and so they're better placed to judge the merits of the show. Like, well, if you're still a super fan of the show and you know every scene and every line of dialogue from it, but you know nothing about the comics, I would say that makes you equally well placed to assess this show.
I mean, some people would claim that it makes you a bit harder to see the flaws if a lot of the counters would be, yeah, but this happens in the comics. I know that a lot of people said Foggy dying is in the comics, faking his death is in the comics. It's like, it doesn't matter. It's about what they've done here. Mm-hmm. I feel like if this had happened halfway through a season, it would be received way better.
Yeah. I mean, for sure, yeah, because you obviously get a chance to feel the impact more and get to know him more. Again, reconnect. Radio Spec says, have you all seen the new Terminator 2D retro game? Yeah, I've heard people talking about this. Apparently it's made a bit of a splash and people are loving it.
I saw the trailer, looks cool.
Nick Malone Film says, Drinker would love to see Critical Gamer Production Hell, Assassin's Creed Shadows. Could we see the channel crossover? Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I don't know if we're going to learn more once the game's out and like people are free from their NDAs and so on, but Yeah, so far it's just been a shit show. Bo Aeon says, if you've never seen it, I highly recommend the animated Avatar The Last Airbender. Great arcs, strong male and female characters, and a good ending. I've heard good things about it. Daily Dose, thoughts on the new Andor promo. In my opinion, it's much better than the actual trailer they put out. The Empire is never more alive than when we sleep.
Oh yeah, there was like a special thing that had a bit more like behind the scenes stuff mixed in with actual stuff that I think was way better than the trailer.
Piston says, last week was the 29th anniversary of Pokemon Red/Blue in Japan. So I have a question for everyone here. What's your favorite Pokemon from Gen 1? I don't know. Pikachu? I know nothing about Pokemon.
Probably like, I think we've answered this on Eva a few times. Blastoise and Zapdos are like two of my favorites.
All right, I'll go with that. John Thomas. Drinker, watch the nonsense-free editor and you should check her out. Based as fuck. She was discussing the lack of men marketed in contemporary fiction. Maybe you could have her on Open Bar. Yeah, for sure. I'd happily have her on. I need to research her channel a little bit. What was it called? The Nonsense-Free Editor. Let me just look her up here. There she is, I think. Yeah. All right. I'll take a look at her properly once I get a chance. Anyway. Next one is Exist Outside the Box. It says, the only reason the Oscars went up at all is because they didn't do any woke garbage last year. Am I wrong in that thought? Drink harder, boys. I mean, it probably didn't hurt them, but yeah, I think it's still just languishing like a 50% of what it once was, and I don't know how it really claws its way back up unless either something super controversial happens or there's like a bunch of movies in it that everyone was super passionate about. I think that's the only way it's going to get some kind of interest going. Right now, it's just there. It's nothing. OMG Puppies says, best animation went to Flow. Beautiful animation with no humans or dialogue about animals surviving a mysterious tidal flood. Neat.
I can check that out, yeah.
Canada Plus says, hail to the panel. Have you all seen Space King? It's an amazing Warhammer 40k parody on YouTube.
Yes.
I watched a bit of it, yeah, and it was pretty fucking funny. It was at Muller's recommendation, I think. And also, is there any hope for John Walker in Thunderbolts? Nope. They're going to cuck him big time. Guaranteed. He'll just be an object of mockery. Have
you seen like the growing sentiment that Thunderbolts is going to be awesome? It's like, do you guys like, what's with your memory?
This is like astroturfed to the max because they're people not putting it out that it's like, oh, it's going to be like the next Winter Soldier. Of course it is. Sure, everything gets compared to that now that doesn't have like celestial space creatures in it. It's not. It looks boring as fuck. And even if it is good, I just don't think the cast is going to generate any interest. Nobody gives a shit about any of these characters. Probably most people don't even remember who they are.
I don't think there's much hope.
The Book of Grudges says, in the new Jurassic movie, they hired Scarlett Johansson to do something only a woman can do. Find the legendary Clitoris Rex. What? There was so many like woman dinosaur jokes in the chat the other night. It's great. I don't know where it all came from. Mizzy Moore, has any of the panel seen Slow Horses? If you like the Gentleman TV show, then I think you'll like Slow Horses. Gary Oldman and Jack Lowden are great in it. I've seen the first few episodes and I quite liked it. I just need to get back into it. But yeah, Gary Oldman's great in it. So it's a neat setting, I think. I don't know if you've seen any of it, Mahler.
No, I haven't.
Okay. Hikira, what's up, Open Bar? Better crossover than the next Avengers movie because this is a sup-fap bar. We have actually heard of these guys. Well, there you go. We aim to please. The Crayon God says, hail Mahler, Cardiff lad here. Long live the Welsh. We are fucking nuts. We don't do anything by half. Stay strong, my fellow and beloved Brits. We can pull through these dark times.
Hail. I think you read that one out at the time, actually.
I think I did, yeah. It must have just like jumped out at me. Jeremy Soden says, the Chat Music YouTube channel now has 3 videos of Snow White trailer comments made into songs. I know, they're fucking brilliant. I do love that channel, actually. It's awesome. Keel Robinson says, I didn't have Snow White versus Skinheads on my bingo card, but hey, why not? Yeah. So yeah, I think the context behind that is like the reason they cancelled the premiere. They don't want the optics of, you know, Rachel Zegler appearing in front of a big crowd of people for the premiere and getting booed. Because if that happens, it'll be doing the rounds on the internet within minutes. So yeah, I can see why they wanted to cancel that. Waddle These Nuts says, Muller, I also heard that Born Again removes a lot of Matt's Catholicism. Bummer.
So far, not so good.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, we're only 2 episodes in. There might be an opportunity for it in the next few. We'll just have to wait and see. M. Jason says, I want Alan Richardson to play Abby in Last of Us Season 2. Nah, he's too small. Jay Fraser, hail gents, Marvel's mishandling of Matt Murdock's Catholicism should worry X-Men fans if and when they get their hands on Kurt Wagner, Nightcrawler. Yes.
Wow. I'd say this is a bigger fumble than screwed up Nightcrawler, though, because this is not only a extremely beloved and famous, well-liked character, but he's also got the 3 seasons already where they've shown how to do it, you know?
Yep. But, I mean, we were talking as well the other night, I think, about the time lapse now that's happened with the X-Men movies, where if you're going to have, say, Magneto, you can't realistically have him retain his original origin story. He would have to be about 120 years old. So it's like, what do you do now? Like, how do you relocate that? Or, you know, are they going to do some time travel bullshit or what? Daval says, Abby eats all the rations to stay that size. Yeah, and then some. King of the Wicker People says, did you hear that Last of Us Part 3 might be cancelled? Yep. I think the whole of gaming like heaved a collective sigh of relief at that news. Are you sad that you're not going to get a Last of Us Part 3 more?
I just don't see why anybody would decide to do it anyway. There's no fucking way that franchise would survive a third one. It would never make the money, and it would be awful. Just what a stupid fucking move.
Yep. Caribla, on Civil War, recently there have been some discussions about how Tony's team was better and shouldn't have lost. I believe that's the point, with everyone on his side having their own conflicts, distracting them. Thoughts?
If
that's probably true.
Check out that scene, Vision basically doesn't want to be involved like at all. It's only near the end when they start to actually make some progress that he starts to do something. Everyone's holding back. They like comment on that with a bunch of people. Nobody really wants to have that fight. That's what that scene is.
Yeah.
It's just trying to prevent one team from going somewhere, you know, and also capture them. That's why Spider-Man's there, is too. He says string them up. He just wants to capture them, take them to prison, basically. Or, well, hold them so that we don't, you know, have the UN and every fucking country ever pissed off with the Avengers. That's what Tony's whole goal is in that sequence. But Cap's goal is to prevent Zemo from waking up the Winter Soldiers, because that's what he thinks he's going to do.
Ace from Space says, Drinker, pick your number 1 Scottish actor of all time. Muller, pick your number 1 Welsh actor of all time. Now debate which is overall number 1.
I feel like I already know what both of us are going to pick for our choices. But,
I think so, yeah. So how do we debate this then? Do we even need to? Can we just not let them acknowledge, you know, that they're both great in their own regard?
Is that a cop-out?
Well, I mean, okay, let's go. So, I mean, I'm going to pick Sean. I think it's only fair. I'm pretty sure you're going to take old Hopkins there. So,
yep.
Yeah, I mean, how do we even rank them, I guess?
I mean, it's a little unfair on Mr. Connery for me, because I've already pretty much decided myself that Anthony Hopkins might be the greatest actor of all time. So it's like kind of impossible for him to win this. My argument would just be that he doesn't put in a bad performance ever. He's played a multitude of characters. He's always convincing when on screen, and he has like his whole methodology is to just get completely immersed, learn the script back to front, memorized, and to just you know, he elevates anything he's a part of. And the fact that he's had a couple of those based comments about how he kind of felt wasted in the Marvel movies when they just had him stand around or say a few things.
Dude, I would fucking love it if Sean Connery had been cast in a Marvel movie. Just like
He would have
hear
been.
his thoughts on it.
He would have been if he was alive. They would have got him in for sure.
They'd have found a reason. Yeah, it's obviously it was a bit after his time, but man, the potential there was amazing. I think it pains me to say this. I probably tend to agree with your assessment because. Partly from a career point of view, I think Connery, struggled sometimes outside of the Bond movies. Certainly to have like a reliable sort of commercially successful career. There was a lot of flops along the way, and there was a lot of movies that you could tell he was kind of just doing for the paycheck, and he was a bit disinterested. Even in his later Bond movies, you could absolutely tell he was getting older, he was getting a bit paunchy, and he just kind of wanted to move on to other stuff. That being said, though, like his sort of later career resurgence as a sort of silver fox who was, the capable commander type guy, like whether it was Hunt for Red October or The Rock, like that kind of era, again, redefined him as like a really interesting actor that could bring a lot to what might have been a fairly pedestrian movie. I
love him. I almost see young Sean Connery and old Sean Connery as different, like just genuinely, like I'm in for a particular performance when I see them.
Yes.
They're both very, very good shit. And I mean, he's charismatic as hell.
Yes, exactly. Oh man, I feel like I'm actually swaying my own opinion now. I'm like, no, he actually is cool as fuck. Maybe I'd love to see him go toe to toe with Anthony Hopkins and just act the shit out of a scene together. I got a lot of fondness for him now.
Isn't they were in like one movie together, but they don't have a scene together, I think.
Because I've never seen them actually be in a scene.
Yeah, Bridge Too Far they're both in, but I don't think they have a scene together.
No, they don't. Because Connery is like kind of trapped outside of Arnhem, or Hopkins is trapped inside this city, fighting for his life, and Sean Connery is trying to get to him. So yeah, they don't appear together, but they were both excellent in that movie. I think they're difficult ones to compare, but I suspect Hopkins, just for the length of his career and the sheer dedication to every role, like you say, even when it's a bit of a shit film, might give him the edge. So. Okay, I'll let that one go. Anyway, Dave O'Leary says, "Hail to the panel. Has anyone watched Shoresy? Season 4 just dropped, and it's the funniest yet. An anti-Ted Lasso, heart, humor, and hockey." I have not seen Shoresy, and I don't know a whole lot about it, I'm afraid. Sorry, dude. Arkham Reaver says, "Yes, it's an Ultimate Showdown style brackets." So what was the question? I can send it on the Mauler Discord or wherever works best. I've started on 2025 as well for New Year's. Okay. So this was the guy's question earlier. He's got a list of like characters to face off against each other, kind of celebrity deathmatch style. So I'm just going to send it to you, or just going to send it to you on Discord, I guess.
For what? Like, I don't know if he's expected like we doing some kind of readout, or
well, yeah, he expects us to drop everything immediately and just start live streaming it and talking about it.
Probably not, but fair enough.
I think he's maybe got it in mind, like if we do another show like we did, for our 200th anniversary or whatever, or 100th anniversary, that we keep it in mind. Maybe want to do it. Sure. So, or it can provide inspiration. So, in that case, fair enough. Flav says greys outpace in both resource consumption and breeding. I'm assuming we're talking about squirrels here, but they also carry squirrel pox, which they are largely immune to, but fatal to reds. They're just dicks, aren't they? Grey squirrels.
A little bit.
Jay Fraser, Mauler, do you think you can fix Faith Lehane?
I mean, depends on what era you're talking about. Post season 4 of Angel, I don't think there's much fixing needed, but before that, you might watch out, she'll fucking kill you. So, no to that era, yes to the peaceful one for sure.
Joke of all butts says, Mauler, please explain Crisis on Infinite Earths.
No,
Why?
I have no idea what the fuck that story is supposed to be. Gary would be the one who would probably be able to explain what that's supposed to be.
Is this the comic book storyline?
Presumably, yeah, but obviously I only know from the CW adaptation, which was fucking horrendously bad.
I mean, I know the reason why it was done. It was just like, as I think comic books do every so often with their own universes, when they have been running for like decades and they get so convoluted and there's so many storylines and characters, they just do a hard reset. And that's what this was. It was like rationalize everything, kill off a whole bunch of characters, press the reset button, and get things back to one consistent timeline. That's why I think it was done. And Jay Fraser says, thoughts on The Last of Us Part 3 being cancelled? Yeah, as I said, I'm pretty happy about that. I think we've saved ourselves a whole lot of pain and misery right there. So, yeah. I'm not going to be sad to see that go. I'm just curious to see what season 2 of the TV show is going to be like.
Yeah.
Do we know the release date for that now?
There's gotta be one. April 13th?
Wow, not long. Okay, cool. We can get excited about that.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. Anyway, that was the last of the super chats right there. So thank you everybody for sending them through. And pleasure as always to answer them for you. And we'll look forward to seeing you on the next open bar on Thursday. But that is all we got for today. So go away now.
Bye.
Bye.